Guys, Roland here. I'm really happy that you're joining us today. We have an amazing conversation planned, and the conversation seeks to answer the proverbial question: are we more than just our physical bodies? Is there more to us? I have an amazing guest who is going to help us get to the bottom of this question right after this. Welcome to Conversations with Roland, where the goal of this show is to learn life secrets through diverse experiences. I am your host, Roland Achenjang. Guys, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Roland. As always, I am super excited to record these conversations, and today is no different. Today with me is an amazing guest, who is not a stranger to Conversations with Roland. She's passionate about sharing her spiritual perspectives, which are based on her personal experiences. She also mentors spiritual seekers so as to help them heal at all levels of their life and at all aspects of their being. She has had many otherworldly experiences, what many people call spiritually transformative experiences, that have helped her remember, above all, that we are more than just our physical bodies. This is super awesome, and I'm very happy to welcome my sweet friend back to another conversation with me, Ritu LeBouef. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, Roland. It is an absolute pleasure to be in conversation with you again about this important topic. I am looking forward to our discussion.
Likewise, I'm really excited about this conversation because we are going to be diving deep into many of your what I call otherworldly experiences or spiritually transformative experiences. And I'm excited about this partly because in our previous conversation, you mentioned some of this as you discussed your meeting and interactions with your guru. Yeah.
Yes.
What's neat about you too is that you've had so many of these experiences throughout your life, and I would even assume that they haven't stopped.
No.
So you continue to have them
Yes, and synchronistic events.
as well. Okay,
Yeah.
you just threw that out. And for listeners who might not be familiar with what synchronistic events are, how would you describe or explain what they are?
It is something that you might be processing. It's not necessarily out of body experience or something that you were dreaming. You are wide eyed and you something comes in and from other dimension or that's how it has happened with me many times, that something from the other side, so to say, comes in to guide you, to reveal something to you. And so that's what I call synchronistic.
Okay. So, and usually these guidance or these revelations are often things that you were maybe thinking about or desiring.
Yes, or mostly a question, not just a simple curiosity, but something like a burning question that you're needing answer for, some problem, it could even be a worry, but you're trying to solve it, and then you get that help.
Okay. So this would be, in a way, reminding me of that wonderful phrase when the student is ready, the teacher appears, kind of.
Appears. Yes. So, and what I say is the underlying feature of this is just your burning desire. So if you have that fire behind what you are seeking to know or be resolved, there is always help, and it has been proven to me over and over again.
Ah, so you have desire that's going to affect how ready you are or how basically these answers are revealed to you.
Yes.
I'll just ask this quick, and this is one reason why I love talking to you, because we had this topic kind of planned, and we're going off on a tangent here.
Yes.
But this is great. How much have you seen intention to play a part in synchronistic events?
Oh, absolutely. Intention is at the very core of it, because thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our words that we speak, they are all an extension. They all come out of your made intention, and the intention comes from who you are at your core at that moment. Like if you have to become a thief first to be able to do actions that will lead to you doing some stealing. You have to become saintly first for you, for your thoughts, for your feelings, for your actions to be an extension of that, so you can do saintly work. So that's the basis of the karma also. So yes, intention is at the very root.
Okay. No, thank you for those explanations, Ritu. So we'll pivot here a little bit and kind of dive into aspects of our conversations that will help us answer this question, whether or not we are more than our physical bodies. You've already touched on some of it. You know, you've talked about intention, you've talked about emotion, you've talked about desire, and just those three make me think of our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, and our physical bodies in a way. Now, what's so super sweet about you is these answers, or your realizations of the fact that we are more than our physical bodies, came to you through many otherworldly experiences.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I know you have some favorite ones you would like to share. And if you don't mind, I would say go ahead. Tell us when, one of your favorite otherworldly experiences that helped you arrive at these conclusions. And then we will, I don't want to say pick it apart, but we would dive into it and see what we can learn from it.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes, so the first one that I want to talk about that was most transformative for me, that changed my life around 180 degrees, is what happened towards the end of 1997, beginning of 1998. This was in Dallas. And so, as I said, that I usually, when I go after beyond curiosity into some question, I have this tendency to really latch on. I become obsessively, compulsively wanting to know the answer. And I think that has served me well in my IT career also, because when, as a software engineer, I would start doing some programming, then I would just get involved in it 100% to resolve how can I make this code efficient, what is wrong with it. So it has served me very well in my IT career, but then in my spiritual quest also. So this is because of this, I had been having STE, spiritually transformative experiences, and then I was having many dreams also that would give me answers, and I would wake up feeling elated. Oh, I got the answer. But then I would see that most of them were either symbolic or I wouldn't remember them. But I knew like it had gone into my subconscious, but I didn't understand what really the answer was. So in one of these situations, I got to see many like circular images, and I was just really wanting to know, what does it mean? It seemed to give me answers about life, like this is what life is about. So in that quest, I been seeking the answer for that.
Just one question. I just want to ask. So before you had this experience, was the question that you were obsessing about related to what life was about?
Yes, what is the meaning of life?
Okay, so okay.
Mm-hmm. And who am I? And why are things the way they are? Why is my older brother my older brother? Why is he not my younger brother? Why my address is what this address is? Why your address is what your address is? Like, it can't all be meaningless. It's not. It. Why do we choose to be living where we are? Is it just all fate? It's just happening randomly? And who's deciding all of this? Who is the one deciding all of this? And is there any order to any of this? So all of these were burning questions.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, one of the ways my guru has talked about is meditation. Now, I did not understand the meaning of guru at that time, but he talks about meditation. So I sporadically started going to places where I could be in a gathering to meditate. This is pre-internet, pre-cell phone days, and I happened to find this metaphysical bookstore that was about 40 minutes away from my house. I would go there occasionally to be in a group meditation. On this particular day, it was in the evening after work. I went there and sat in meditation. Everybody left. I went so deep in meditation, I did not realize what time it was that people had left. And then when I suddenly came out of it, I noticed I was the only one in that room. I ran out, looked at the time, and the shop owner was ready to close the shop. One of the reasons I had gone there is to see if the shop owner, it being metaphysical bookstore, might have some idea of some books that might have reference to those images or answer that question. But I felt a little disappointed. I was feeling very peaceful, wonderful, but a little disappointed. Excuse me, that the store is closing. I don't want to hold her back. So I went outside. It was very, very quiet evening. There were no other cars around that time. There were only 2 cars in the parking lot, my car and the shop owner's car. So I said, okay, another day I'll catch hold of her. And I wish I could get, and then I was a little disappointed. It's like, that seemed to be a long, deep meditation, but I didn't see any blinding lights, all these things that people talk about. They see all these things. I don't know. I don't see anything. So I sat in the car, closed my door, put on my seatbelt, and put the key in the ignition. And right then I heard this enormous explosion. For a split second, I thought my car blew up. And then the next moment, I don't know how you define time at that, I was 360 degrees. I had this, it wasn't like I was seeing anything. I was in this void. There was nothing that I could see. Complete void, but then it was pure love. Just love itself. It wasn't that it was something that was emanating love. It wasn't a presence that was trying to send love towards me. It was just pure love. Its very essence was love. And I noticed this love was just overflowing, so much like you dip a piece of cloth in water and you take it out. When you hang it, is just dripping with love. That the same way it was just dripping with love. And I couldn't feel my physical body. I had no awareness of my physical body at all. And to describe this love further was like, it was just, this was something that you couldn't touch. You could not, it had the quality that it cannot be stained. Nothing can change it. It's still, and yet it has this ebb and flow of blissful love, purer than pure, to it. And suddenly then I look forward and I see I'm going into space, and there are billions of stars coming towards the windshield. I'm not aware of my body. I'm not aware of the windshield, but that the stars are coming, and before they hit the windshield, they're coming at lightning speed, and they're just dissolving, just disappearing. And I noticed that I was bawling. Now, this is not my nature. I am deeply emotional person, but not the ones to just be bawling like that. But the impact of this love was so overwhelming. It was like, this is the love that I had been separated from. It's like, it's been billions of years. It felt like it's been billions of years. This is what I have been separated from. This is home. And the next moment, it was like a shift. I can explain it in two ways. Like if you're in a standard shift car, when you change the gear, there's like a tiny little jerk. Or you can say if you're playing music and the octave changes just a little bit, it's a shift like that. And then the next moment, that's me. It's me. I am that. I am this love. I am this all-pervading, absolute nothing, like zero, nothing as not in something and nothing, but just void nothing. And everything at the same time. So all these years, I am still trying to figure out what words to use to describe that. But I am that. God is in me. I am in God. And it's all one. I am that. I am the form and the formless. That love drops that are dropping is the blade of grass, is each tree, each star. Everything that you see are those love drops. And the next instance, just like the similar shift happened, and then I became aware that there is this, what I call the cosmic me or macro me, and then mini me, that I am that. I am this all-pervasive love, and then there is this mini me in this body. Now, I'm still not aware of my body, but then I have this knowledge that this is all me, and then this is the mini me also. And there is this exhilaration, this bliss of connection. I am loving this mini me, and just this indescribable love just pouring into mini me, and I'm wanting to experience myself, like know myself in the co-creation with this mini me. And then mini me is just like a little extension, part of that. And so this mini me is now wondering, if I am this macro me and I am this mini me, what is the part of it that's aware of this, that's processing this information? And then my attention went to where my physical head would have been had I been aware of my physical body, that it was right around here, the space where this processing was happening. And I felt this mini me they were just like symbiotic, this exchange happening, full connection and acceleration of this love exchange. And that it's the mini me is experiencing is allowing sort of the macro me, the cosmic me, to experience itself through the mini me. And I'm still floating through space, and I am, this entire time, I'm just bawling and bawling. Like, where did we go wrong? It still brings tears to my eyes every time I talk. How did we get separated? How do we go off track? All this hate, this violence, this suffering, why is that? Where did that come from? How do we get separated from this? And that, how do we get back to that? Because that is our true self. How can we forget that? And so I am just just experiencing that. And the next thing I notice, I have no awareness of time. I don't know anything that is within the so-called physical reality. Next thing I notice is I am turning off my ignition key of my car, and I'm in my driveway of my house.
So this is the part of your story. Not that any part of it is not fascinating, but this part is just insane. Oh man, look at that. You're so emotional. Take your time. Yeah, this is.
Oh, okay.
Are these tears of joy or are you? Oh, Ritu.
It's the love. How do we forget this love?
So I was actually I know we kind of stopped on the fact that you turn off your ignition and you ended up in your driveway. Mm-hmm. But when you said that, I wanted to piggyback on that a little bit. And I know we're veering a little bit off here is the question of where did we go wrong and how could we forget? Have you ever gotten an answer to that question for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I think it would be nice if you shared what was revealed to you.
Yeah, so this one, should I continue on with this one or go to the next STE or OBE?
No, no, I think we should focus on this one for a little bit, just to answer some questions. Yeah, if that's okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was the first time when I turned off the ignition key in my driveway. I became aware of my physical reality. I saw where I was. I'm in the driveway. I stepped out. My eyes are swollen from the tears that had been pouring down. And I was just soaking in love. I closed the door. I opened the entrance door of my house and I walked in, and it was dark. My toddler kids, 2 kids, they were sleeping. I went quietly into the room just to peek. My son just got woke up for just a tiny bit. I quickly picked him up, held him, rocked him for a few seconds. He dozed back. So I remember all of this, put him back to bed. I don't remember changing my clothes, then going and sitting in the bed, and that whole thing started all over again.
The whole
So
experience of.
the whole experience, but in a little different way. B- I will continue if you're interested. And yes, um, so then I'm assuming it must have been close to 10:15 p.m. or so by that time. But this time, so then again, the whole just I'm soaking in love and tears are rolling down. But then suddenly I hear this chanting. Now it's not physical, it wasn't physical hearing, but feeling the presence of these sages that are chanting. And because I have studied Sanskrit a little bit as a minor in college, and I've heard the Sanskrit chanting a lot, so because of that familiarity, knowing what that sounded like, I'm hearing these sages in unison, like you hear chorus. They are chanting, and they're all around my head, all around, like in the space around my head. And it was just blissful. It was just otherworldly, cannot be described. I've not heard it like that before. And then instantly this fragrance, again, I do not have a earthly description for it, but something like close to sandalwood. It wasn't a fruit smell, it wasn't a flower smell, but more like very woody, earthy, mixture of fragrance, but something akin to sandalwood. And it's just filling up my nostrils. And it's going all the way to inside my forehead, filling up my head. And I am seems like every cell fiber of my body is just vibrating from the love, the fragrance, the sound. And I feel like I cannot handle this, like I'm gonna explode, burst into a billion pieces. And I just reached a point where it's like I cannot take this anymore. But not in a painful way. It was just so overwhelming. It's like I cannot contain it. Cannot be contained within this body. And right when that thought came in my mind, like, I cannot take this. I want this to stop. And it just stopped. Everything disappeared. But by that time, because of all that crying, I don't know, of just the intensity of the whole experience, I was completely exhausted and I fell asleep. And it just seemed like I had hardly fallen asleep into a very restful sleep. But then I woke up in the morning, as I usually do. So I'm assuming that it must have been close to 4 a.m. or so, because it felt like I hadn't slept that much. So that had been going on for a while. I think that's what must have happened.
Okay.
So so then I went on with my day, and of course that had a huge impact on me. I was just within those just transformed by the exposure to that oneness, the love, the pure love that cannot be, like, you take all the love that is on human plane and you multiply that a billions of times, it would still not be enough to be able to imagine or describe that love.
Jeez Louise.
So
Oh wow, Ritu. Now, to say that you were transformed after such an experience would be an understatement, I would imagine.
yeah,
Totally. Now,
yeah.
before we get to how you were transformed, in listening to your story, I had a million bajillion questions come into my mind. And if you don't mind, I'll just piggyback on some of them. Okay.
Yes.
Now, first of all, I just think it's fascinating that you were at this metaphysical store in the parking lot meditating. This happens. You go through this whole experience. You have no idea what's going on. You got stars flying in your windshield, and then you end up in your driveway. And you don't remember driving from the metaphysical store to your house.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's insane. Here's another thing. Now, when you were having this experience, you said you were not aware of your physical body, but you were crying. Now, have you ever thought about how that was possible?
So this is what I eventually realized, that we have a level of consciousness within us that is processing, that is remembering, or is aware of everything that is happening, and it's all stored. So our thoughts, our emotions, our words, our actions, everything is permanently stored.
Okay.
Which sometimes, if you've heard of the word Akashic records, so they have a full memory. So I had to come back. I wasn't aware of any of this in that time and space. It's later on, when I am trying to process this information to put it into words, that I'm going back and I'm pulling from that resource of sort of that recording of what was going on. But within that time period, I wasn't like with pen and paper recording, okay, now this is happening. So this is one of the most interesting things.
Yeah.
That
Okay. Now, you talked about being aware at some point of your macro self and your mini self. And then you kind of pointed to the right side of your brain as an area of your mini self that was aware of both your macro self and your mini self. Sorry, correct me.
Not the right, but just like where had I been aware of my physical body, so it would be like right where my physical head is, is where I felt that space. Now it's like with my microscope, when I look back into that time period of that experience, then that is what was happening.
So it was between your head area, or in your head area?
Around the head area.
Okay. And it was there that you were able to perceive that your macro self was experiencing itself through its mini self.
This is where this information was being processed.
Okay.
This differentiation, that this is macro self, this is mini self, that's like this recording is happening, and this process information, this computerized information processing is happening.
Okay. So the processing, of the information, did that speak to who was being aware that the processing was taking place?
Who was who- that this if we call it entity or a body, this body, mind body, that was processing this information w- was like a separate thing by itself.
Okay. Okay.
It's kind of like if you have a camera that's recording
Ah.
a a scene that's going on.
Okay.
So there is a director, there's an actor, and then there's a camera that's recording and analyzing, and like a computer,
Would be
just
doing.
like this. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Neat. You also mentioned the idea, or not even the idea. I don't know if I want to say the remembering or the realization that in this void where you were was pure love,
Yes.
and that this love wasn't something separate coming out of something. It just was what was or is.
Is it
okay.
just is. That's existence itself. That's existence itself, and that's like it's the very essence of it.
Okay.
Is
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. The very essence of this
of
existence is just
is
love.
love.
Okay. So if this is the essence of existence, is there anything that isn't? Is there anything that isn't this love per se?
There isn't.
Okay.
There isn't. So I would say something like, you would say there is nothing. Everything is heat. There's no such thing as cold. There can be an absence of heat, and we call it cold.
Okay, so
And so the all is love, and then there can be an illusion created that there is not love, and the opposite of that is fear, to me.
okay.
That's how.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I understand too, Ritu. But usually I ask these questions kind of from the perspective of somebody who's trying to make sense of this. And I'm building up to go back to when you were literally bawling, which, I mean, even up to today, this is still very emotional for you.
Yeah.
Bawling because of the feeling that you've left this home and what felt like, I think you threw out the word billions of years ago. Like, I left this home, it looked like for eternity, and something has gone wrong. You had that
Yeah.
feeling of something has gone wrong. Why are we experiencing all this pain, all this suffering? And I think this would be a good time to get your reaction to that. Is why do you think this has happened?
This is happened. So just to give it the context that the macro me, the cosmic me, that it's all pervading love, is wanting to experience itself through the mini me. And how would it know what it's not is by creating something opposite of it, so we can feel the lack of it. Because if it's only one thing, there is no contrast for you to know what it really is.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah,
if
yeah.
if it's only one color, we don't even have a name for it. We don't experience it because there's nothing contrasting it. So we create this contrast is created, so then we can have the thrill and the joy and co-create and to find all our millions of infinite aspects of the one that is the existence, and each of the mini need to represent an aspect of the whole. And but within that, there is a forgetting of its true self. So when we get stuck, so what we call it the mind, and the mind is there to temporarily veil, to forget the true self. And so the opposite of love is fear. The forgetting is the fear. It's limited versus unlimited. But the fear gets so is given all the power, it takes over, and then we become, and this illusion that was created of temporary limited fear becomes like our permanent. It magnifies so much that our reality gets created out of this fear, and this fearful reality becomes like our true, we think this is our true reality, and it's so much that it completely overshadows our true eternal truth within us, that it's not that it doesn't disappear, it's not that it leaves us, it's just that we forget. So it's just remembering it, and that's where we get off track, is the forgetting.
I see. So this experience that you had essentially then helped you, if I can throw out the word remember, that we are more than our physical bodies.
Yes.
And you've thrown out the word limited and unlimited. You've also used the word love, and that everything is this love. So is the idea, this is just a random question I just thought of. If everything is this love, and in this love trying to know itself creates this environment where we go through, quote unquote, the veil of forgetfulness, do you think that it's wrong? Do you feel that it's wrong? Or do you feel that even in all these experiences, this love is very much present still?
It absolutely is present. It is, and that's the while we have forgotten it, that's the suffering. The forgetting is the suffering, but once we remember it, once we connect back to it and learn to stay in it, not just remember it occasionally, but learn to more and more be in that state, we laugh. And that's the bliss.
We laugh.
It's
I
like
love
the biggest joke.
I know.
Like, this is the biggest joke, and there was no time. And the fear is the limited, is the linear. Mind can create time, space is fear. Time and space is fear. And the biggest joke is there is no time. There was never any time. And it's so freeing.
It is free. I'm laughing in my heart, and I'll tell you why. I don't know if you've read my book yet, but I described how I felt the moment I had my Kundalini awakening or spiritual awakening. And of all the feelings that I have, the one I wanted to highlight here was I felt like the butt to the best joke ever told. I am not kidding. I just thought, oh my God, what a magnificent experience. And this is not real. And the feeling and the answer was, no, it's not, Roland. You remember, don't you? And I'm like, oh, I signed up for this. Yes, you did. Now you know. What are you going to do about it? But you're right. I was laughing and I was crying just like you were. I had tears running down my face, getting in my mouth. It was salty, and I just looked like a mess. But it's true. Oh my. Look at that. You've only told one story and we're at 45 minutes in. We're going to have
Oh
to
gosh.
we're going to have
Okay.
you come back. But I think this is even the follow-up questions. I think it's fascinating because we hear this many times. Many people think, okay, I'm more than my physical body. But what does that really mean? And for you who had this very visceral, spiritually transformative experience, I think it's great that we are doing what we're doing, which is allowing you to share the story, and then we're probing to kind of make sense of some of it, right? Because, I mean, it's very easy to feel and experience what happened to you because that is for you essentially. It's very easy for you to kind of, as best as you can, integrate that information because you had the personal experience. For someone who's hearing it, there's still gaps. And I'm trying as best as I can to fill in those gaps with the questions that I'm asking. Okay, so we'll go back, right? We're more than our physical bodies. You talked about kind of the mental body a little bit, the one that's processing. I would even go as far as say believing that this separation is real. You also talked about your emotional body a little bit, and I just picked that up by you saying the feeling of love was overwhelming. And I found that fascinating when you were back in your room and you said, this love is too much, is nauseating, I can't handle, please stop.
Well, not nauseating. No.
Oh, okay, not nauseating.
No, every cell, every fiber of my body was just vibrating, and it's like in a 2-watt bulb you are pushing 10,000 volts of energy, and I felt like I'm just gonna burst into billion pieces, like I'm going to explode over here, and I'm trying to contain, like I cannot contain, my body cannot contain it.
Okay, so let's focus on this real quick. What bodies did you become aware of during this experience per se?
So what, not within this experience itself alone, but accumulation of other following experiences also that I became aware of, mainly that I've had to work on once I became aware of it, is we are spiritual beings having physical experience and not physical beings having spiritual experience. So this spirit is kind of also part with mind, which is made up of mental, which is our thoughts, and then our emotions, which are housed in this physical body that we are able to see with our 2 eyes. But what's driving this physical body is our mind and spirit. Now, who do we want to give our power to? So mind, the thoughts that we keep thinking over and over again, becomes our belief. And the mind that when we let it out of control, we let our thoughts become beliefs, and they become our in charge. We put them in the driver's seat to drive the car of our life. Then we've given our power to a very limited, fearful time and space version of our entire spiritual being. Does that answer?
That clarifies that. Now, here's something that someone might be thinking, and I just thought about it too, is if that happens, is that wrong per se?
No, that's not wrong, because that is part of the experience. But if we do not transcend if we do not take that power back consciously, look at our beliefs, look at our thoughts and emotions, and resolve them and take the power back, then we are perpetually in that illusion
Okay.
that we are in this time and space. And up to a certain point, the physical body will cooperate because it's designed, it's made from the same 5 elements from nature, where it's gonna be born and decay and die. And then that same mind will have to take on another form, another body, and then still be perpetuating that illusion. And that is fine too, if that's what you're enjoying, because you are all the power.
Yeah.
And so it's up to you. It's a choice.
Okay, I love that. Let me ask you this. If you are referring to another part of yourself giving your power away, can you describe that a little bit? Which part of you is giving your power away, and who would be taking it back?
So that I don't have specific names from those, but what general media talks about, the labels they have given, call that consciousness.
Okay.
So there is this consciousness, an element called consciousness within us, that has the willpower, that has this, can make the choice. It has the power of attention and intention. So attention is one of our biggest powers. Where do we want to place our attention? Do we want to place it towards the spirit? Do we want to place it towards the mind, the unlimited, the infinite, or the limited, the no space, or no time, no space, nothingness, in everything in nothingness, or to linear time and space? Where do we want to put our attention? And that consciousness is within us, which we can also call awareness. I don't know what is the right word to use for that, but that is within us, and we can then make a choice from there where our attention is to be directed.
Okay. You know, Ritu, you're right. I really would like to add in this point about the challenges of using the physical language or English or just language in general to explain these concepts. It's very tough, especially because we all have already assigned emotions, meaning, and feeling to words that we've come across throughout our lives. And so many times when someone like you is trying to describe this and you're looking for the right word to pick, there's still going to be gaps. And I've always laughed at that about this planet. And in truth, every time we're trying to close a gap in information sharing, we always seem to create another one. And I found that very fascinating.
And that's why I love the work that you're doing, Roland, that you are teaching people, guiding them towards meditation, because really all the answers we can get through meditating. And that brings in the word attention. We put our attention inside, and we reach out to the infinite self, and therein are all the answers. So I am so glad to have connected with you, because you're my tribe that understands exactly. This is why I emphasize the words, because a lot of the beliefs and a lot of the rift, a lot of the suffering, it comes from giving words to something that doesn't have words, and then we sometimes hang on to those words and give it our own interpretation from our level of understanding, and then create more obstacles along the way. So the wordless way is meditation, which you are doing, and people should be just coming to you.
Absolutely. I love meditating. And If I'm not meditating, I'm thinking about it. I'll tell you that. But
That's
yeah,
your life.
yeah, but you're right. It is.
Uh-huh.
And what is also neat about it is once you have an experience like this, regardless of who you're talking to, when they use words to describe their experiences, those words are gonna resonate with you, and you may not use the same words, but you're just gonna
Yeah.
have a level of understanding of what people are talking about. Yeah.
Very true, very true. That's why since then I have not read scriptures, but all the masters of the world I listen to, I've seen movies or heard about Lord Jesus, Buddha, in my own guru, and I listen to them. It's like they're all saying the same thing.
The same
It's just
thing.
they're
Yeah.
all saying the same thing, and I completely understand the essence of what they're describing it in different words. It's different language in a different style, but they're
Mhm.
all saying the same thing. And so it's like
We're
another
done.
reason.
We're done. It's the end of the podcast right there. We are largely more than our physical bodies, right? I mean, it's nothing new. You're describing it in the way you became aware of this information. And I think it's fascinating. It's a cool STE. But yeah. No, you're right, Ritu.
Thank you.
You're right. Okay. There's one body we haven't touched much on. I mean, in this last 8 minutes, we can just real quickly talk about the emotional body, and then we can wrap it up quickly also with how these bodies result in our physical manifestation of ease or lack of easiness, what people call disease in a sense.
Yes.
So the emotional body.
So emotions are kind of like a GPS of our human journey, and they tell us what we're loving, what we're not loving, what we're liking, what we're disliking, what is so it kind of navigates our life, that this is hurtful, this will cause hurt to somebody, I should not be doing this, I should not be saying that, and like this thing hurts me. So it helps us self-reflect, it helps us navigate. It's like a GPS. But when we have accumulated thought patterns and emotions from the environment around us, and especially as children, we have listened to them so much that they become a voice within our head. Even though we may be physically away from people who have said these words, it may be long time ago, but they become part of the conversation thoughts within our head, and those thoughts are invoking similar emotions. We may not be within that environment, that may be something way in the past, but there is that relationship inside the mind that has happened between the emotion and the thoughts, that what that emotion meant to us at that time, the corresponding thoughts get created. Those repeated thoughts fueled by the emotions become beliefs, and that creates results in our actions, and that generates more results, circumstances, and it brings those, we start creating our reality. So, and this is how we can go look at when these emotions are imbalanced, because then they keep creating triggers for us throughout our life. So if we had seen a snake somewhere and we had seen how it had bit our best friend, and best friend was in pain or ended up in the hospital, then every time we see a snake, it may be a harmless one, it triggers us, and then our thoughts and then actions and our life kind of starts getting guided by that. So these emotions, a lot of times we are taught by the society or what the beliefs we have generated, that we are not to express those feelings. We are not to be strong. Don't move on. Don't look at them. Boys are not supposed to cry. Girls are not supposed to get angry. So in that moment, because it's our GPS, we are supposed to address that emotion and resolve it, let it pass through. And when it's not done, and each person has a different permutation combination of the collection of these emotions and thoughts and beliefs. So we each one therefore have the power and the responsibility to look within ourselves, because you are the highest authority. No others can guide, but you yourself know what's hurting you, where it's not hurting, but you seek others' help, but you have a complete self-healing mechanism. And when these, because body is completely interconnected with these emotional body and mental body, when this unease happens and these emotions are repressed, suppressed, and channeled constantly in the unhealthy ways, it impacts the energy meridians, the flow of energy, the prana, the chi, the ki, whatever name you want to give it, the spirit that moves within the energy channels, that moves our body, the way how we're able to function, that gets impacted. And so this ease that you don't have, the ease with which you're not able to flow, that becomes impacting, creates blocks, energy blocks inside our body, and it starts impacting our organs, because organs are made up of the same cells, the tissue, it's of the same elements that nature is made up of. So it starts getting impacted, and these blockages then create disease, and the more and more these blocks are there, they create more and more disruption in the functioning of our body, which can lead to cancer and organ failures, ultimately, where surgically organs need to be removed. Now those parts have to be removed. So this is the all coming simply from the imbalance within the unresolved parts of our emotions and the thought patterns that we have created. And once we look into that and resolve them, and sometimes it's as simple as just looking at it, becoming aware of it, and just talking about it, just releasing it. Majority of the time you can just release and you will see healings happen. I have seen that. That's how I learned how the power that we have within ourselves for our complete healing. And this
is... No kidding. Yeah.
Yes. We have we have infinite power to heal ourselves. We are designed, we are hardwired, body is hardwired to heal itself, to be in the homeostasis, to balance itself, and just processing our unresolved emotions and thoughts, which form beliefs. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah. I love that. Ritu. It definitely is simple once you grasp that concept, and then maybe try it one time to heal maybe a minor ailment that you've had, and then you can progress to even bigger, more stagnant, like you say, blocks of flows of energy or ki or prana through your emotional, even mental body that eventually manifests as disease in your physical body. But I think, I could not agree more, Ritu. And I think this is a good wrap up. We've talked about your fascinating spiritual transformative experience a little bit, which helped us recognize that we are more than our physical bodies, and that all these bodies that we are really working together, and we're experiencing that in, I like the way you put this, as our mini me today, in a sense. And
Yeah.
all of these aspects are creating this physical expression that we are using to navigate planet Earth right now. And any disease in them is oftentimes, maybe even all the times, a result of blockages of spiritual pranic flow through any one of our bodies that you mentioned: emotional, mental, even our spirit per se.
Yes, you
Yeah.
wrapped it up so perfectly, and I will agree. It's very simple. It's at least it's good to know that that's how simple it is. But the rest of it does require effort and attention, and we have that power also. And that's also what we have forgotten, that the immense power, infinite power of attention that we have, where what we feed grows, right? What you feed grows. So where we put our attention, we will see the results. And we have so many instances where people have completely reversed irreversible, so-called incurable diseases, right? There's so many
Absolutely.
documented evidences, and this is how it happens.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have said it any better. Guys, as always, you can connect with Ritu LeBouef on spiritualroute.com, and I'll have links to her website in the notes section of this podcast, as well as her Facebook page. Read her blogs, watch her YouTube videos. Definitely reach out to her and ask her questions about anything that you have related to your journey, your spiritual path. She's more than available.
I'm
and willing to
learning
help.
as well. I'm learning as well. So anybody who's reaching out, we are both learning from each other.
Yeah, no kidding. Ritu, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you again. I can't wait to have you
Same.
back. I know we promised we would talk about more than one STE, but I love how I would say spontaneous our conversations are, in that I think those
Yeah.
questions are fascinating and important. But yeah, you'll be back.
Yeah.
Guys,
Thank
you know how to
you.
connect with me. Roland at Achenjang.com. The book is out, Who and Why You Are, audiobook, paperback, and electronic form. And if you aren't meditating, please start. Like Ritu said, it's the best thing
Yeah.
you could do for yourself. And as always, I invite you to create an amazing day.